This is Rewired. I'm Jeff Cook.
I'm Katie Whitlock.
Katie, we're picking up with our discussions of wings that isn't about wings.
Yay! Perfect.
One of the things that you said last time that really stuck with me was pairing underlying feelings with the affect directions. For example, 2s and 3s experience shame. Both of them experience it going outward. That was so helpful for me. I've been thinking about that all week. That was one of the things that I was really learning from this discussion, that as we talk about the numbers to our right and left, that there are things that we can pick up that we can see in other people that we may not be able to see it in ourselves. I routinely talk about being a fish in a fish tank and not being aware of the water. That's what it felt like to me, because we can look at others who have similar qualities to us, who are a different number, and how they wrestle with that, and it might help us to see ourselves. That was something that I was learning. Do you got anything that you were learning from this discussion?
So this discussion started because somebody wanted us to talk about wings, and I always think it's a good thing to talk about, but my personal/professional take on wings is that there's not much work to do there. I don't care if you're a 2-wing 1 or a 2-wing 3. I'm going to teach you like you're a 2, right? Your work is going to be the same. If anyone's ever heard me teach, the biggest thing I think you need to work with is your repressed center. If you don't pick up anything else about your number, you need to know your repressed center, and you can work on that every day for the rest of your life. So I don't think there's a ton of work to do here in the wing space, but I think it's really, really interesting to know and to talk about. And I think it's really interesting relationship-wise, because I think it can explain why you feel maybe connected to someone next to you. If you have a friend or a loved one that's right next to you on the circle, what is it that you're sharing, that you're relating to, if you're close? Like if there was a college program on the Enneagram, to me, this would be like, it would not be one of the core classes that you had to take, but it could be like a supplemental course, right? Wings.
Yep. That'd
be like a supplemental. You don't need it to know what you're doing, but it's fun to learn about and to talk about, and it's fun to think about.
I may have mentioned this, I would put wings and subtypes instincts in kind of the same camp as fairly advanced. If you get into it in the way that we are, I think actually it has a lot of value 5 years into your study of Enneagram. Hitting something like this, I think can bring a lot of texture, flavor, maybe in some spots where you can see things in a fresh light. The other thing, what I would suggest with doing wings, if you were actually going to do the study, and maybe we'll talk about this in the future, but I would pair it with the traditional list of sins and fixations. I think that when I consider myself, I struggle more than other places of struggle, like on the list. I struggle most with the sloth of the 9 and the pride of the 2. And so I may have said this. I wrote a book on the deadly sins 10 years ago, right, and my chapter on wrath was twice as long as any of the other chapters. How did that happen? But it was the case that like I connect with those, with pride and with sloth much more than I do, and with envy. But that would again be predictable.
Yeah, that would make sense,
because my stress move. So I think that's something worth naming. I don't know if does that resonate with you? Do you see the pride of 2 or the envy of 4?
Yes, and that's all. Yes, I do. The one thing I would say to that is subtypes.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say about that is that does feel a little different to wings than wings to me, only because I don't care so much about subtypes, because I found my number without knowing my subtype, and learning about subtypes hasn't been super helpful for me. But I have had people over and over and over tell me that they could not figure out their number until they figured out their subtype. So I think subtype is this weird thing that for like some percentage of the population is vitally, vitally, vitally important. And then for the other percentage, like doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think wings to me kind of strikes me as like doesn't really matter for most people. I think it feels like it matters right when you get into the Enneagram, but once you learn about it, it doesn't really matter. Whereas subtypes, I've just heard so many stories from people that it like really, really changed their understanding of their number. But for me, I don't teach or learn much about subtypes.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I would say about that. But I agree. This is like extra stuff to me.
Joel Hubbard and Jim Zartman, who are Enneagram workers, they also do stuff in corporate. They start Enneagram study with subtypes.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go into the 9 fixations first.
Right.
They want to talk about biological instincts.
Yeah. I mean, Beatrice Chestnut, queen of you know what I mean? Like so many people teach subtypes.
Of all things, and I think we'd mentioned this before, subtypes were discovered and talked about before stance was. It was part of the language and literature in the 70s. And it's really only been like stance came later. Affect groups came a little later.
Yeah.
The thing that hits me, and I suppose I've done so many mistyping conversations, I've never needed the instincts, but the people who comment on the episodes that I released on mistyping always bring it up.
Yeah.
And that mostly as a second guess, like I think that you should really reconsider the social 6 and not the self-protective 7 or something like that, you know? And yeah, it's perhaps worth just keeping there on the back burner. There's probably something worth saying.
I think they are important. I think my particular understanding of the Enneagram right now doesn't use them, but that is not to say maybe later I won't pick them up more, right? But
I feel like it's an overlapping language. In my view, I would want to argue it's not Enneagram.
I know it feels like a completely separate thing.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
No.
You take the Enneagram filter, as it were, and you put the instincts shade over that filter, and then it just gives you a different quality of what you're viewing that may have a lot more depth. But you could do the same thing with race. You could do the same thing with gender. You could do the same thing with nationality. There's all sorts of education level, etc. There's all sorts of things that we have that are filters. The thing about instincts is it's trying to elevate these primal biological drives that are pre-human.
Yeah.
You know? And saying these have a dominant effect on how you engage the world, the tribe, and especially your resources. And that's interesting to me. Biologist that you are, I bet there's lots to say.
It certainly is interesting. That's actually, I agree with that, because people ask me, you know, do you teach subtypes in the classes? Are we gonna go over subtypes? And I say no, because like I said, I feel like I don't know them well enough. And I feel like it feels like this entire other area of study. It doesn't just feel like this little thing like wings. You know, we have one conversation and I feel ready to talk about it. Like it feels like I'd have to spend years again on instincts.
Yeah.
Not much less Enneagram, right? To be able to even begin to teach it. And that feels very big right now.
Stabile's wisdom here is still, I think, perfect. She just says, wait 5 years. Really get into Enneagram. Figure out your core type and all the dynamics there. Those waters are deep.
Yeah.
Go hard into them. And, you know, when things kind of get a little bit repetitive, you want something fresh, jump into instincts. Well, I'm keeping instincts till our 4th book when I talk about relationships, because that's actually where I think it matters. When you start talking about your dominant instinct and how it shows up in your relationship with your partner, if you have one, with your kids, with your work environment, those I think that can have some effect and help. And
I agree.
Something worth saying. But we talking about wings.
Anyway,
we're to 6, 7 on our list. Just to build on the thing I said earlier that I thought was most helpful, 6s and 7s have a fear, and it's not of the things out there, and you may not see this. It's of the things within. 6s have a fear of an anxiety about what's within, and 7s do as well. That would be a primary for me. And I think we're going to see that also, that inward focus, if we were to take time to look back at 3 and 4, and we'll get to it with 9 and 1. Sometimes we don't see the inward focus of this underlying feeling, but here it's anxiety. What stands out for you for 6s and 7s?
The word I picked here is flight or escape. I couldn't pick which one I liked better from those. But To me, this is like you said, 6s and 7s are fleeing outwards. So they're escaping what's inside of them and they're going into the world. They're fleeing outside of themselves. And what I saw here is that it's kind of positioning yourself as you are the one in charge of your life and you are not going to allow the world to take you over with uncertainty. So what I see a lot is, I chose the word escape because I think 6s and 7s always need an option to leave. I experience 7s. Everyone talks about 7 as the stereotype of the party goer. And I actually, most of the 7s I know, they're super charismatic people, but they're not like party goer people, right? But what I do experience all the 7s in my life as someone who is not going to do the thing that they don't want to do. And if they are being kind of made to do something they don't want to do, that kind of sounds like an agency thing. But if they're being made to like be stuck somewhere, their mind is going to be on something else, right? They're going to be looking forward. They're going to be looking for a route of escape. They're going to do something they like to do so that you're not making them do the thing that you want them to do.
All energized by that inward anxiety. I think the idea of flight is exactly what's going on. And you see it in 6s when 6s can become restless. Mm-hmm. There is a energy there that is, as you were saying, this is how I control the anxiety I feel within, is I move and I change sceneries and I get my body and self and mind into spaces that are different, because if I were to stay here, then I'm going to have to deal with the problems that I intuit, experience, envision,
right, that
are right here now.
I see 6s and 7s exerting this control over their life that I just don't see 5s doing. I feel like the world happens to 5s and 5s react to it. But 6s and 7s I just experience as people who are kind of always like riding the wave and wanting to be in control of what's happening to them. And if they feel out of control, then they're going to do something to make them, to put them back. And again, that's a lot of like agency words. What do you see as the difference there? Like between how I'm talking about 6s and 7s and how we talk about the body triad?
I wonder if control may not be the correct word to pin on body types. Is it not the case that all the types at some level want something like control?
Yeah, that's true.
I wonder if for the head types, what they really want to do is control the future.
Yeah.
That the move is actually toward securing resources that ensure that you have the best possible ability to control what's ahead. See, if we were going to play that idea out, I think 2s, 3s, and 4s in some measure want to control the past, but it is I mean, you could speak to this better. I have lots of guesses of what that might look like. Mm-hmm. But would that even be worthy language? Can you say that part of my posture in the world in terms of winning tomorrow is about me controlling the past?
Are you asking me as a 3?
Yeah.
I think I like to control the past by ignoring it.
Fair.
Does that count?
Here's what the reframing, that's exactly what reframing is, isn't it? At some level.
Yeah. Yeah. Just ignoring the parts of it. Well, I will say I'll ignore the parts of it that I don't want to think about.
You're able to take hold of the narrative and say, this is how everybody should see this narrative. Isn't that control?
Yes.
I like pairing control with these temporal locations for the centers. We're stumbling on something. This works.
Okay, so here's what I want to say about 6, 7. If control's everywhere, what I experience from a 6 and 7, and I'm actually thinking about the 7s in my life, but I do think this applies to 6s. It is nearly impossible to keep a 7's brain focused on something that they don't want to be focused on.
Okay,
and an 8, 9, and an 8 and 9 and 1, it's more like their physical self doesn't want to be controlled, right? But what I experience with 6s and 7s is that it's their mind and their brain. Like 7s, they'll be in the same physical spot with you and they'll be thinking about something else completely different, right?
Sure.
Or they'll start talking about something completely different. As a Sometimes it's a joke when I'm teaching a class. If I know I have a 7 in the room, at random points, I'll ask them what they're thinking about. And it's like always something different than what we're talking about. And that truly doesn't hurt my feelings because I know that they are like involved. I just know that they're also thinking about a lot of other things. But I see this in 6 too, because what 7s are doing is that they're positioning themselves as they're the one in charge of where their mind goes.
Yeah.
You can't affect them like that. And I think 6s do that too. Like, I'm in control of how I'm thinking. And maybe that's like where counterphobic stuff comes in a little bit as well. I don't know. But I see some 6s do that as well, right? Like, I want to be in control of where my brain goes. If I need an escape route, I'm going to have one. I'm going to be in control.
I think the sources of their anxiety can be so potent that the desire to move is just going to be there for 6s. I'm again thinking of a lot of male 6s here who I know who like really push hard into aggressive behavior, aggressive substance use, or, you know, just tend to put themselves forward as a reaction to that anxiety, you know.
I'm thinking of a lot of female 6s who often think that they're 2s because this action, this sense of action they feel in taking care of others, right? And coming out of themselves and taking care of other people. I'm having a really hard time because I want to bring up the relationships that 6s are focused on.
Yep.
Because I don't experience 7s doing that as much, right? 7s certainly are taking care of relationships, but it's kind of so that they feel better, right?
I wanted to build on that.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's it. That's why I'm having a hard time, is because I do think this looks so different. This external direction of fear looks so different in 6 and 7s. It's the same thing, but it looks so different. I'm having a hard time explaining how they're the same.
I don't know that we've brought on the idea of processing center much, but when you were talking about 7s, that's where I was going, is the escapist mentality is there so that they make their life easy. The thing in front of me isn't very enjoyable. What's more enjoyable? But 7s aren't the only ones that do that. 5s do that, and 9s do that. And the positioning one's mind to land in spaces that feel optimal is the target there for the 5, 7, 9. But that's not the 6's processing center. As you were saying, they're processing relationally. And so you have this inner anxiety. What are you going to do? You're going to push it into your relationships, because if my relationships are sound, then I am happy. That's how processing and assessment work.
Yes, that's what I want to say. So when we talked about 5s and 6s, we talked about when you have an external fear of the world. So you're fleeing internally, you're collecting resources, right, to make yourself feel better. You're like safeguarding yourself from the inside. And 6 and 7, what you're doing is you're safeguarding yourself in the outside of yourself, right? So 7s are, we talk about experiences, the resources they guard is the experience, but it's something outside of themselves. This is where 6s also kind of bolster themselves with the relationships outside of themselves. They push that anxiety onto the people around them. That sounds horrible, but what I mean by that is they start to, you also get that thinking repression, right? Like asking other people what they think, all the things. But it's this kind of, it's a resource outside of themselves that they can rely on.
It's a both and there. I think that's spot on. It comes back to control. How do you control your future anxiety? And it's through movement, hyper movement for the 7, but the relational, it's through the relationships for the 6. Those are the resources. I think that's spot on in terms of saying the 5 is moving inward. The 6 can move inward and shore up resources for sure, to stave off future anxiety. A lot of those, I assume for the 6, a lot of the resources that are stored up to stave off future anxiety are the messages they hear from other people about the future. Does it have wisdom? Does it confront the things that I'm nervous about? Does it speak to me in a way that I feel both is true, but also makes me connected to the person in front of you? all of those are resources. That's an asset that you hold on to because the future is coming.
I wonder also, I'm just thinking out loud, I wonder also, like, after just saying that wings don't matter and you're the same, I wonder, like, a 6-wing 5, because 6s are just the exception with, like, every single thing that happens in the Enneagram. I wonder if a 6-wing 5 would look like a little more self-assured because they're relying a little more maybe on that inside resource versus a 6-wing 7 is relying a little more on that external resource. And so we experience them as a little less self-assured. I don't have any more thoughts on that, but that's what I was thinking when you said that.
Paths worth going down for sure. Dinosaur bone to dig up.
What a crazy pairing to start on.
I like this pairing.
That was just hard for both of us.
I think that 6s and 7s on another front are types that can easily make excuses for the bad behavior of other people. And I want to play that out.
Yeah, because
I had said something in an earlier podcast where I said 5, 6s, and 7s don't suffer fools. And I paused afterward going, I know lots of 7s who suffer fools. In fact, 7s can collect fools, you know, as like, who else is going to Vegas with you? The 6s and 7s, when the 6 is really giving leverage to somebody else as their person or as their leader, they can make excuses for terrible behavior because until they disconnect, they're attached. And 7s, I think, can make excuses for bad behavior because this person's fun and is fulfilling what the 7 really wants to do.
Right.
So 2 different reasons for excusing bad behavior, but that's something that I see. I got a bunch of other stuff worth saying, but anything else on
No, I would agree. I think it's really important because I imagine if a 6 is listening to this, they're going to be like, yeah, but if I don't trust somebody, right? Obviously, like 6s are not in the positive outlook triad. They're in that emotional,
correct,
reactive or realness or whatever we call them, triad. So I just think it's super important, like you said, to say maybe 6s will do that until the moment they don't.
Correct.
Right? Until the moment they stop trusting you or you've broken their trust as an authority or something like that. And then I'm thinking of a lot of 6s who have told me stories of like, and then that person was out of my life.
Yes.
Right? Forever.
And that's how 3s, 6s, and 9s, this will be a triad. This is how they engage relationally the world. They attach to get what they want. Attention, peace, protection.
Right.
When it's not there, they disconnect and they detach. And that's not only an affect group, that actually corresponds with the psychological theory, which I'm forgetting the name of right now, but it's important. So for 6s, they're excusing the bad behavior because this person, though they're acting terribly, will protect me when the time comes.
Yeah.
Like that's the cult leader. The elevation of the cult leader is that move.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand that they do all these horrendous things, but they're looking out for me.
Yeah. And I just think that's a really nuanced thing because that's going to be different for every 6, right? Mm-hmm. And like when you say all these horrible things are okay because you'll protect me, I don't want people to hear that and think 6s will sign off on just all these horrible things. But what it is that I don't think these horrible things are as bad as what would happen if I didn't have this person. Yeah. Right. Like
that will be the conversation with the 6.
Right.
Is exactly in that space. Yeah.
Right. I'm thinking of a 6 who had a boss who was like really not that great of a boss, but he had done a lot of stuff for her and she felt loyal to him. And all the things he did, like kind of put her in a really bad position, but like she could handle it. And she felt like it wouldn't be fair if you know, whatever, a bunch of things. So especially if I think it's like, if the 6 is the person who has to put up with all this stuff, but by being close to this authority, maybe that authority can help other people. Like 6s will take that burden on, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas everyone else is shouting at them, hey, that person is mean to you, you should leave, right? Mm-hmm. The evils that I have to face with this person are much, much less than what I would have to face if they weren't here.
Correct.
So here we go, right? Until the day that scale flips and then you're unattached until dealing with this person is more of a problem than what they give you.
Yeah.
Then you're disconnected.
Notice how much underlying that is trusting yourself.
Right.
Versus being in relationship. Right. In a relationship that you're finding they're processing relationally, the person that they've entrusted themselves to is the relationship there. So you're going to have to separate yourself from the relationship and go it alone for a season. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a very difficult thing.
Which is scary. Yeah, right. So,
alertness, planning and anticipation, moving toward the enjoyment of everyone. These are the other three things that hit me for this 6-7 pairing.
I think that's great. I think moving towards the enjoyment of everyone is really important. I like the word movement because I'm thinking of, how's this pairing different from 5? Yep. 5s are doing repressed, so I like the word movement there. 6 and 7s absolutely are moving more than 5s are. And I like everyone because I don't think 5s feel like it's their job to make everyone happy, which I would agree with them. It's not their job, right? But 6s and 7s, I do think they do have this orientation towards, wanting to make the group happy. Maybe that's a subtype thing. Again, after saying subtypes aren't important, that might be like a social thing. But anyway, I like that part. I like that. I think that's true.
Problem for 6s, as opposed to 7s, is 6s, I think, have a little bit more trouble enjoying the enjoyment that is fashioned through that movement.
Yeah. We're having such a good time. I wonder what's going to happen.
And I suppose it's the case. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Can the 7 also enjoy? Are they not also thinking about the next thing?
Yeah, I do think 7s. I've been told that 7s have a hard time actually enjoying where they are right now. Half of the enjoyment came from them thinking about it before they got there. Anticipation is a big thing with 7s, right? So if they're going on vacation, most of the enjoyment they're going to get from that vacation was them thinking about the fact that they got to go on vacation soon, right? Once they're actually on the vacation, they may or may not be thinking about what they're going to do next. So I don't want to say, I'm sure they are having a good time, right? I have a 7 for an aunt. Like, I know she has a good time when we're all together, but also I imagine she's thinking about the next time we're going to be all together.
That's correct. All right. For 7 and 8, I know that you have a name for 7 and 8. The first thing I wrote down was Vegas, baby. Because this is when 7s and 8s get together. There is an energy there that is, where else are we going to go in the world?
Yes.
But what do you got?
So my word, well, let me talk about the things you share. So instead of doing sharing the center and sharing a direction of your underlying emotion, what 7 and 8s are going to share is that independent stance. So this is the only place on the circle where your wing is the same is the independent stance, right? Mm-hmm. So which means you have an independent reference point and you are feeling repressed. And so the word I picked for this space is indulgence, because I think both of these numbers view the world as big and as something to be experienced and as something to be lived into. And if you stay in your house your whole life doing nothing, you've just wasted everything that was given to you. And I wrote down, it's a constant chase for bigger and better things. It's going to be different because 7s want experience and 8s want challenge, which can look the same a lot of the times, but they're doing Enneagram, they're doing it for different reasons. There is to end my little explanation, there's something I do on my Instagram every so often is I collect memes for all the different numbers because I think it's fun. And there's one, and it's like an old medieval drawing of these 2 knights in a boat, and they're headed out to fight this big octopus like monster thing. And the caption is like, me and my friend when we get together, like getting into whatever, like we never know what we're about to get into. And I said that was 7 and 8s. Cause like when a 7 and 8 gets together, you just never know. Something's going to happen. It's going to be big. They're going to do something. And there's also, the other thing is like, there's no ego here. Like 3 is not here. Right. So it's the people in the independent stance with no ego. So they're literally just doing it for the love of the game. That's what
It's so
that's
true.
what I said. You also, maybe instead of indulgence, you could call this space the love of the game. But that's what I saw here.
I love pairing that with the adventure side. There's a documentary I loved a while back that was of these guys who have those squirrel jump off cliffs outfits. I don't know what you call those.
Yeah. Flight suit.
Yeah.
Flight suit or whatever.
And they're you could easily get killed.
Oh yeah.
They have their GoPro on and they're not very far away from some rocky ledges. But the last line of the documentary, the guy wanted to elevate this experience, even though other people say, look at it and say how useless it is. He says, he said something to the effect of, just because we're chasing windmills doesn't mean that we're not knights. And that was his self-understanding.
Yeah.
And I had that on a little piece of paper in my office, and Kelly mocked that to no end. Like, these people are fools.
Yeah.
I was just like, I like the self-understanding here, but that's what I see there as well. It's almost as though the identity, they're doing things out there, but the richness of purpose is still an internal experience.
Yeah. I said this space is about crafting your specific experience of life in exactly the way that you want it. So you're always going to be out and go and getting what you want out of your life. And you're going to be feeling repressed. So maybe you run people over in the process on accident, right? But you are creating the life that you want. Yeah. And because you have a big personality, because you're in that independent stance, it can look the same a lot of the time. But again, 7s are doing it for the experience. 8s are doing it for the challenge.
Yep.
And
there's the control element there as well.
Yeah.
On the negative side of this, these two types are pain avoiders, in my view. 8s can have that challenge side of embracing the pain, as it were. But I think that they're both 7s and 8s are avoiding a different kind of pain. It's not the physical pain. It's very much the emotional pains. For 8s, I see it much more as avoiding. They can be avoiding at their worst the relational issues that they may be experiencing. 8s can have a flighty gear. They may get teased as something else, but they can run away from problems. Yeah. They can take their ball and go home is, a common.
Well, 8s, I think 8s can just very quickly be like, this is a stupid problem. I'm not doing this. The 8s, I don't feel like they feel like they're running away from something, but it can certainly feel that way to the rest of us. You know what I mean? Like the 8 is like, this, I'm not doing this. This is not worth my time. Right.
That's a good point. That may not be what's going on inside of the 8. That might be my description of behavior. I think you're right there.
The other thing, when I think about, I certainly agree about 7s being flighty and like not wanting to think about their emotions and all this stuff. When I think about 8s, the emotions they're avoiding, the word I always think of is just like soft. Like anything soft or vulnerable or squishy, like that's what I see 8s avoiding, right? So 8s are not always, like we always talk about 8s being protectors of people. Like, so they can be like emotional people who are out to protect others and like talking about like violence and oppression and all these kind like relational things, but they're all like strong things, right? And 8 never is going to be weak in front of you or be vulnerable in front of you. And those are the type of things I see them fleeing from, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
The question, I suppose, where the pain avoidance in my mind is coming out of is the passion that they struggle with. Why are you pushing into gluttony? Why are you pushing into intensity of experience? There's got to be something underneath that. Yeah. And the fear there, the softness, the vulnerability, the anxiety that's underneath that ends up being, I suppose, what I'm trying to put a thumb on. If the 8 pushes into things that are just, somatically intense, it just overwhelms everything else. Yeah. It overwhelms all those other feelings and emotions. And the feeling repression shared by these two is something I think that is there, and
Yeah.
also like the avoidance of feelings for them at some levels.
I think if you're always wanting more, then that probably means you're afraid of less.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll relate to that as, I'm feeling repressed too. That's what a lot of times feeling repressed just feels, bringing up my feeling center just feels boring and slow. You've heard me talk about that before. Yeah. And I imagine 7 and 8s would say the same thing, because if you're always pushing for more, doing the opposite of that and bringing up the center you're repressed at is going to feel like less. Mm-hmm. And because we're not good at admitting when we're not good at things. Well, 3s are going to struggle with that more, but we're all just going to describe that as like, well, why would I want to do that? Right.
I think all 3 of those types don't want to deal with their weaknesses.
Yeah.
The independent stance ends up being independent in the sense that I can control the world from an independent posture.
Yeah.
And especially things that make me feel uncomfortable. Failure, vulnerability, the anxious terrors, and all the, mm-hmm. the dark emotions. Why would you want to live there? I can control the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have to live there.
Yeah.
So why would I? Yeah.
And this isn't, by the way, I'm starting with, I meant to set this up. I'm starting with my negative list. I got all sorts of positives here in a second, but that just strikes me as in unhealthy space, the 7 and 8, this is where the struggle is going to be that's shared between those 2 types.
Well, I think also people can experience you as leaving them behind, right? I think that's mm-hmm. an independent stance thing in general, but I think especially 7 and 8s, because at least 3s are connected into that heart center in the beginning. So even if we're leaving you behind, maybe sometimes we can make you feel like we're not, or make you feel a little better because we're connected into you a little bit. But 7 and 8s 7s have no line to the feeling center. 8s, it's the last thing they do in that secure move to 2.
Yep.
So I think 7 and 8s, the rest of us can really, really experience them as people who are moving on, and they don't care about us. Even though that's not, I want to be clear, I know that's not true. But that can be this space sometimes, is leaving people behind because you want to go do something bigger.
Yes.
Right.
That's a worthy phrasing in that. On my negative list, it doesn't necessarily have to be negative, but 7s and 8s can be the most crass and visceral of the numbers. If you're a comedian, I want you crass and visceral. So, but there is some elements to 7/8 that they can push into that space without regard. And if you're a uptight perfectionist like some people, that might hit you. Or if you really care about the appearances of things, 3s are fantastic at being crass because it is tempered with, how is this going to come across? Yeah. Okay, I can tell the joke.
Yeah. What do you think about 4s and 6s there? Because if you asked me to come up with the crass numbers that I actually would say 4, 6, and 8. I would say that emotional realness group.
I think that works. 7s and 8s are just going to be, I think, just the quickest to tell the joke.
For sure. Yeah.
To push without care or regard for the people around them and their sensibilities. Yeah. I
guess 7s certainly are super quick to make a joke, especially if they think it'll get them out of something, I think, right? Yeah. Or make that sounds inherently negative. Like, get them out of a bad situation, right? If it's going to make everybody feel better, I'll tell a joke. And if crassness can be, is that a word? Crassness?
Yeah.
Crassicity can be used there, then maybe they'll use it. But the first motivation is to make this situation better. It's not to like be able to be crass in front of people, I guess, is what I see there.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's do the positives.
I have one more. I just have one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I think it's just worth naming that 7s and 8s, I think, are the types that can do the most damage locally. I think other types do damage.
6s?
I think 6s and 1s can do a lot of damage beyond their immediate sphere.
Yeah, what do you mean by that? Damage locally?
I think 7s and 8s can hurt when they can hurt relationships close to them.
Yeah.
with more ease than any of the other types.
How so? Like, what do you see them doing?
I mean, it comes out of feeling last, but it comes out of aggression, and it comes out of I matter more than you. My desires matter more than yours, and I really don't care about what you want.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that might be tempered in independent 3s, but it's not tempered in 7s and 8s.
Yeah. I think, well, my first thing I'll say is I think it's not as tempered. Maybe we just have a better way of going about it, but I certainly think that is true. What I'll say, I feel like I'm coming to the defense of 8 and 7s a lot, maybe because they're my dance partners, but I'm sorry if anyone's listening to this and they're like, she didn't defend 6s like this. Sorry. You said 2 things. You said my whatever matters more than you. Totally agree with that. And then what was the second part of what you said? And I don't care.
Yeah, and then there can be I just don't care about how you feel about my choices.
I think that second part is a symptom of the first part.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't occur to us that what we want to do maybe isn't the best option right now. Or like, because we're feeling repressed, we don't notice people enough to notice that we are eclipsing you. I'm thinking of the times in my life when I have put my wants and my needs above other people, and I didn't realize I was doing that because I wasn't in tune with them enough to realize that they, of course, had needs and wants too. I just felt like I was doing my own thing, and I think you should go also do your own thing. So I guess that's my defense is it's not I want to do what I want to do and also screw you. It's I want to do what I want to do, and that inherently means I'm not thinking about you enough to realize that you probably want to do your own thing too. Or you want me to like ask other people what we should do or whatever. Right?
It comes last. The feeling comes last.
Yeah.
And that's how you're wired. There's all sorts of positives that come out of feeling last, which I can hit here in a second.
But there's a lot of negatives for sure.
But that's just going to be a place that's a common struggle.
Yeah.
As it were. On the positives, fast thinkers.
Yeah.
Ridiculously.
This will be the fastest processor pair on the entire Enneagram.
5s commonly get elevated as the ones who are thoughtful. The people who challenge me over and over again are 7s and 8s. Mm-hmm. So not that 5s don't, but I have a hard time debating 7s and 8s. I can debate 5s all day long.
Yeah.
7s and 8s are disruptors. That can be a bad thing, but it can also be a very good thing because some things really need disruption.
Yeah, and I think they can disrupt, like, again, I keep thinking of 6s here. Like 6s I also would say are disruptors, but they are That's feeling true. People. And so they're doing it for like the community or for this sense of to get like they're doing it with a relational frame in mind. And 7 and 8s can 7 and 8s can break something without wanting it to be fixed. Maybe that's not really what I want to say.
They have just some other motive in mind.
Yeah.
They can separate their emotions from the thing that you built because it may need to be moved away from.
Yeah. I think they can do it without realizing that they did it. I think if a 6 chooses to disrupt something, they're doing it on purpose.
Totally right.
Which is can be awesome or it can be bad, right? Like can be a pro or a con. I think 7 and 8s
ones in there also.
Yeah.
6s and 1s are doing that external changing the thing in front of them. Whereas the 7 and 8 are saying, what reality do I want?
Yeah, they can do it without realizing. I've been told that 8s especially can walk in a room, burn it down, walk out, and they have no idea the effect they just had on everybody. And I hear 8s all the time tell me, I just had an 8 in a class the other day. He said, my supervisor told me that every conversation with me feels like a challenge. And I was like, well, why do you think that is? And he was like, I don't really know. So it's that he did have like, I got him to talk about it a little bit. He did have some reasons. He could come up with some stuff. He seemed like a pretty emotionally mature guy, but it was like, it's like disruption without even wanting to or realizing you did it, and then like leaving the room and everybody else has to pick up the pieces.
And you'll experience this, I'm sure, in Enneagram classes. The 7s and 8s can commonly not be engaged with what you're doing because they're doing the thing they want to do. And like divide people into their tables, and the 8 table is they're never doing the thing I asked them to discuss. They sat down, looked at my question, and said, well, I think I have a better question that we could be talking about.
Yeah.
You know, and the 7's probably, you know, they're out in the foyer already by the time the meeting starts. The disruption side paired with another positive that I think 7s and 8s, when they choose to go into this gear, can be the most energetic, leadership oriented types. If they choose to go into that space, there are very few things that thwart the energy, the leadership energy that can be established by these types if they say, I'm going to lead everybody else.
I think if you are naturally oriented towards more and bigger and challenge and adventure and wanting the most out of life as humanly possible, and you learn to pick up your feeling center and bring people with you, that is phenomenal for leadership. I absolutely agree. That's it. Yeah.
You pick up if they're able to engage the feeling center at a high level and position towards leadership, that's a very moving outside of yourself way of being. You can do some stuff. That was the last of on my list, was that these are the types that effectively grab people's hands and take them somewhere else.
Yeah. In
ways that just the rest of us are like, this was the thing we needed.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's Vegas. it's sometimes, sometimes it's just the passion for experience. I had a buddy who was an 8 who loved climbing, and just everybody in his group, he was just doing the things that got people empowered to do something that they were going to be scared to do.
Yeah.
And did it in a way that said, you have the knowledge, strength, tools to do some stuff that's really impressive. And it wasn't for impressiveness sake. It was very somatic for him. It was very much like, isn't this the life you want to live?
Andrew Core, who we just interviewed about storytelling a week or so ago, if I'm remembering correctly, I think one of his best friends is a 7. So Andrew's an 8 and his best friend's a 7. And when he describes that relationship, it's just like, we get together and you literally never know what's going to happen. But we have the best time every time. It is so fun when we go golfing or when we go whatever. Like, we're zooming around in the golf cart or whatever. He's like, it doesn't matter what we do. I just always have the best time with a 7. Yep. I hope I'm not making that up. I hope I remember that story correctly. But
no, I think I recall that as well.
Yeah.
There is something about have you seen the Jackass movies?
Yes.
There are some of those guys, the 7s and 8s that are.
That's a very 8-7 coded movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
That's funny. That's exactly what this is.
So funny. Okay.
Alrighty.
Somebody told me that if you look closely, you can see the color of another man.